So class, welcome back to the lecture number 4 of the course Power System Operation and Control. In lecture number 3rd, we discussed about the causes of power quality disturbances. We also discussed about the various disturbances that are occurring in the system, like we studied about transients, voltage variations, interruptions, waveform distortions, frequency deviations, and voltage flickers. Okay, so in today's lecture, the first topic that we will cover is how to rectify the power quality problems. Okay, this rectification of a power quality problem, it is basically a 4-step process. So steps to rectify the power quality problem, it is basically a 4-step process. Okay, so and these steps, they you have to remember the chronological order. Okay, the pattern means number 1 step, number 2 step, number 3 and number 4 steps. You cannot change the steps. Okay, so what is the first step for if you want to rectify the power quality problems that are occurring in a power system? What is the first step? So the first step is that you will continuously and extensively monitor the different power system quantities. Okay, the first step is continuous and extensive monitoring of different power system quantities. Okay, what are the power system quantities that we have to continuously observe and monitor? These quantities are, that is, measurement of different power system quantities, means measurement of voltage, current and frequency. V for voltage, I for current and F for frequency. So these 3 quantities, voltage, current and frequency, they will give us all the information about the power quality problems that are occurring in the power system. So I'm saying these 3 quantities, these 26 will give all information about the power quality problems, that are occurring in our power system. So first step, that we have to continuously and extensively monitor the different power system quantities. And what are the quantities that we have to see? We have to measure voltage, current and frequency, and we have to continuously observe the value of voltage, value of current and value of frequency. And these 3 quantities, they will give us all the information about the power quality problems that are occurring in our power system. So once you have continuously and extensively monitor the system, okay, what is the second step? So you are continuously measuring voltage, current and frequency. The second step is identification and detection of power quality, identification and detection of power quality related disturbances and categorizing them. So identification and detection of power quality and categorizing them. Okay, how can you identify and detect? Obviously, firstly you have to monitor. Once you have monitored, then only you will be able to identify and detect the power quality related disturbances. And then once you have identified and detected the power quality related disturbances, then you will categorize the various disturbances. Then okay, you will say this is these of suppose X, Y and Z. Out of X, Y and Z, X and Y, they are the power quality problem which are related to the voltage. Okay, and you will say that Z is the power quality problem that is related to the transients that are occurring in the system. Okay, so suppose I am saying in this, what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to say that we can categorize if there is sag or swell or interruption or transients in the circuit, transients, etc. Okay, so first step, monitoring. By monitoring, we will measure voltage, current, and frequency. Second step, after the measurement, what will you will do? You will identify and detect the power quality related disturbances and categorize them. You will say, okay, what are the power quality related disturbances? You will say there are sag, there is sag, there is swell, there is interruption, and there are transients in the system. Okay, then you will categorize them. Categorizing means sag and swell, they are the voltage related problems. Okay, then and these transients, they are different problems. Similarly, if there is frequency deviation, it is something different problem. Okay, you will get the frequency deviation from here, you will measure the frequency. Okay, so once you have identified and detected the power quality related disturbance and you have categorized them, then what will you do? No, the third step is you will see what are the reasons for this power quality disturbances. You cannot know the reasons, before detection and identification. Once you have identified and detected any particular power quality problem, then you will see what are the reasons for that particular power quality problem. Okay, means you are saying we have categorized there is sag and swell in the system. Okay, then we will see why there is sag and why there is swell in the system. That is the third step. Means what is the reason for this power quality disturbance? So you will write it as analysis of the identified problem to their probable cause. Okay, in this case I am saying, suppose after monitoring we observed that there is voltage sag in the system, or we identified there is voltage sag, and this voltage sag is a power quality problem. So now we will analyze why there is voltage sag in the system. What are the probable cause for this voltage sag? Okay, this is the third. So last step, fourth step. Now once you have analyzed the cause, once you have identified the cause of the system, then you can stably take action, means you can take corrective actions. Okay, we are saying suppose there is voltage sag because of because the reactive power generation is smaller than the reactive power demand. So what will you do? In order to reduce the sag, you will turn on your capacitor banks. So these capacitor banks will supply reactive power, so that this voltage sag, it can be reduced or eliminated completely. Okay, so fourth is corrective action, prevention and corrections. Preventions and corrections of the probable causes. So once you have identified the cause, you can take the preventive or corrective action of the probable cause. So this probable cause, this preventive or corrective action, it can be either manual or it can be automatic. Okay, but if you can see, if I will show you, suppose I am saying, suppose there is sag in the system. I told you na, sag is a problem. So there are three categories of sag. So one is from 0.5 cycle to 30 cycles. So if it is 0.5 cycle, means it is, I think, 0.02 seconds. So such a small amount of time. And these sags or these power quality disturbances, they may not it is not that they are regularly occurring in the system. It is also possible that this instantaneous sag, it may occur once in a year. Okay, so this sag is occurring only once in a year, and that too for how much time? 0.02 seconds. So manually you cannot control it. You need to use this automatic control. Okay, so that is why I'm saying that prevention and corrections of the probable cause, either automatically or manually. So I also told you that manual is not possible because these power quality problems, they may occur once in a year, and that too for suppose 0.02 seconds. Okay, so it is not possible to means manually control it for to manually go for this prevention and correction method for such a small amount of time. And also I told you here we are continuously monitoring the different power system quantities. Why continuously? I told you because these disturbances, they may occur once in a year, once or twice or thrice in a year, and that too for very small duration of the time. So continuous monitoring is very important. Okay, so these are the 4 steps that are employed for rectifying any power quality problem that is occurring in the system. The first is continuous and extensive monitoring of power quality system quantities. So once you have monitored the power system quantities based on their measurement, you will identify and you will detect the power quality related disturbances in the system. So once you have identified and detected the power quality related disturbances in the system, then you will categorize them. Means sag, swell, interruption, transients, they are different. So you will categorize the different power quality problems. So in the third steps, in the second once in the second step, you have already identified the problems and categorized them. In the third step, you will see what are the causes for this problem, what are the probable causes of this problem. So once you will identify the cause in probable cause, okay, of the power quality disturbance. In the fourth step, you will take suitable corrective or preventive action. Okay, so and this preventive or corrective action, it can be either manual or it can be automatic. So these are the 4 steps. So please, while noting down, please follow this order. You cannot write step number 1, then you will write step number 3rd, and then you will write step number 2, and then step number 4. You cannot change the numbering. Step 1 is continuous and extensive monitoring. Step 2 is identification and detection and categorizing. Step 3 is looking for the probable cause, and step 4, corrective action for the of the probable cause, either manually or automatically. So this was all about the steps to rectify the power quality problem, and here I am stopping this power quality topic. And now I am starting the second power quality, this second concerns of our power system operation and control. What was second was reliability. Reliability I'm not considering because it is a small topic. Any system we say which has a minimum loss of load probability, it is called reliable. So third, I'm talking about third topic, that was power system security. Power system security. So what do you mean by security? By security means it is a term which is used to reflect a power system's ability to meet its load demand without unduly stressing its apparatus. Okay, so I am saying it is the term used to reflect the power system, power system's ability to meet its load demand, load demand without unduly stressing apparatus. Okay, or in other words, I can write them, or allowing network variables to stray from prescribed prescribed range. So what is security? I am saying that a system which is able to meet its load demand without stressing the apparatus. Without stressing the apparatus means, suppose we are saying we have a generator and we have a load. So if there is certain sudden load change or any change in the system, still our generator should be able to supply that load, and it should supply that load without getting overloaded. Means it should not be overloaded very much. So if it is overloaded, it may damage the generator. That is why we are saying that to meet its load demand without unduly stressing the apparatus. Okay, without unduly stressing the apparatus or allowing network variables to stray from the prescribed range. Okay, means each generator has some certain minimum and maximum capacity. I'm taking the example of generator. Minimum and maximum capacity, maximum has a certain maximum capacity to supply power. So we cannot supply power more than that particular value. Okay, if we will try to supply power more than that particular value, it will damage our equipment. Okay, so this security, in other words, I will say, in other words, I will say that security is basically referred with respect to some credible pre-specified contingencies. Security, I'm saying security is referred with respect to certain pre-specified contingencies, certain pre-specified contingency. What are contingencies? Contingencies are abnormalities that are occurring in the systems. Okay, suppose I am saying there is some contingency that is occurring in the system. So after the contingency, I will see if my system is secure or not. If the system is secure, okay, I will say that our system has high security. Okay, and you can say all contingencies, we cannot go for this power system security analysis for all type of contingencies. Why not for all type of some contingencies? Suppose we are saying that there is very small change in load. If there is very small or very little minute change in load, we will not check the power system security for that particular small change in load or for particular small contingency, because we know that the power system is capable of handling these small disturbances in the system. However, if the this contingency is there is some sudden or large variation in load. Okay, suppose there is some fault in the system, or there is sudden change in load, or suppose there out of 5 generating units, 1 generating unit it fails. Okay, some fault is developed in the machine and it fails to supply the power. At that time we will check the power system security. That is why I am saying that this security, I am saying security is basically referred with respect to some or with respect to certain pre-specified contingencies. And what can be the contingencies that are occurring in the system? Contingencies, I told you, abnormalities. So there can be contingencies, there can be power outage, or network outages. Power outages में क्या आता है बेटा? Under power outages we have, like for example, outage of real power. Outage means outage is also contingency. Okay, so outage of real power, okay, or reactive power. Outage of real power or reactive power. And this network outage, under network outage it comes now, means outage of transmission line, outage of transmission line or transformers. Okay, or transformer outage, OUTAGS outages. So I am saying contingencies, we have two types. One is power outages, another is network outages. Power outages means जहाँ पे हमारा real या reactive power outage हो, means we have 5 generators. Out of 5 generators, one generator is not supplying any power. Okay, and suppose we have reactive power devices, like we have FAC devices in the system. So out of few FAC devices, some FAC devices are not able to supply reactive power. So that is called as power outages. In network outages means network is changing. Suppose we have a system with few buses, and these buses are connected with the help of transmission lines. So I am saying that some fault is developed in the transmission line, and we have to remove that particular transmission line by using the circuit breakers. That is comes under network outage. And similar, this transformer outage, it also comes under this category, which is called as network outages. Now this power system security, okay, it has further two types. Number one is line security. Remember, these are outages or contingencies, power outages and network outages. Now I am talking about the power system security. So number one is network security, line security, or megawatt security, और रियल पावर सिक्योरिटी, एक ही नाम है, लाइन सिक्योरिटी, मेगावाट सिक्योरिटी और रियल पावर सिक्योरिटी. सो इन दिस type of security, power system security, that is line security, we deal with the power flow of the transmission line and transformers. Okay, so in this type of security, line security, we deal with the power flow of transmission line and transformers. So for example, suppose I am saying if there are some violations in the loading of the line or transformer. Okay, I'm saying suppose there is some violation in the loading of the transformer or transmission line, then we say that it is related to the line security. So we have a transmission line, a transformer, suppose we are saying that we have a transformer which is designed for 20 kVA. So instead of 20 kVA, we are loading it to, instead of 20, suppose 23, 24 kVA. So that thing comes under line security. And similarly, another example is, suppose we have a transmission line which is designed to supply 100 megawatts of power, but instead of 100, we are supplying 125 megawatt of power. Okay, that things come under line security. Okay, so what I am saying, we deal with the power flow of the transmission line and transformers. And I am saying that if there are some violations in the loading of the transformer or transmission line, then we say it is related to line security. Okay, violations with the loading, transformer and transmission line. Okay, so if there are some violations with the loading of transformer or transmission line, then we say it is related with line security. So first is line security, the second is voltage security. The second is voltage security. What do you mean by voltage security? So in line security, we are continuously, what are we doing? We deal with the power flow of the transmission line, means we deal with the power. However, in voltage security, what we do? We deal with the voltage. And what are we doing here? Here we are monitoring the operating limits. Here we are monitoring the operating limits of voltages. Okay, so if we are monitoring the operating limits of the voltages, then it is related with the voltage security. On the other hand, if we are monitoring the power flow of the transmission line and transformer, then it is related with the line security. Okay, so this voltage security, it has further two classifications. Voltage security has further two classifications, means static security. Okay, so what is static security? Here we only consider the steady state. In static security, we only consider the steady state. Okay, however, the another type of voltage security is dynamic security. Okay, so here we only go for the static security, we only go for the steady state. Okay, steady state, but what steady state? Steady state constraints. Okay, so we go for the steady state constraints. However, in dynamic security, apart from the steady state constraint, we also consider the stability. Stability is also the criteria. Stability is also the criteria. So I am saying this power security, it has two types: line security and voltage security. Line security, we deal with the power flow of the transmission line and transformer, and if there is any violation in the loading of the transformer or transmission line, we say that it is related with the line security. However, under voltage security, what we are doing, we are monitoring the operating limits of the voltages. So it has further two types: static security and dynamic security. In static security, what are we doing? We only go for the steady state constraints. And what are constraints? Constraints are basically limits. Okay. So in static security, we only deal with the steady state constraints. However, in dynamic security, apart from steady state constraints, this stability is also the criteria. Okay, that is why dynamic security. Dynamic means which is something which is under disturbance. Okay, so this is page number 2. So I told you here constraints. What are constraints, beta? Constraints are limitations. So why are these constraints important in power system security? In power system security, these constraints, they play a very vital role, because every electrical component, whether it is transformer, it is generator, it is this transmission line, it has certain constraints. Okay, means generator has certain constraint to supply power. Okay, and this transmission line, it has certain constraints. It can supply only certain amount of power. You cannot load the line beyond that certain value. Okay, beyond the maximum value. Okay, similarly, voltage, we also have to see that the voltage, it should also remain within its minimum or maximum value. Like I told you during power quality, what is power quality? That voltage should not vary more than 10 or 5% of its nominal value, and frequency, it should not vary more than 3% of its nominal value. So these are the constraints. Okay, so I will explain these constraints one by one. So coming to the constraints, so system constraints. System constraints. So first one is, basically we have two types of constraints: equality constraints and inequality constraints. Okay, so equality constraints, they are also known as load constraints. Equality constraints are also known as load constraints, represented by L. Other name, its another name is equality constraints. And it is denoted by E. So equality constraints means that which satisfy a certain equation. Okay, certain equation means real and reactive power balance of at each node. Okay, for example, real and reactive power balance at each node. So I'm saying equality, real means at a node we say whatever power is coming, the same power is moving further. Okay, either it is real or reactive power. Okay, so we are saying, for example, I'm saying, suppose I'm saying that Pi, real power, it is a function of, so I will draw it slight bit. It is a function of voltage and delta, rotor angle delta. Okay, and reactive power, it is also another function of voltage and delta. So both these equations, they are called as the power balance equation. Power balance equation. Okay, so here I am saying that the power at the ith node is a function of voltage and rotor angle delta, and this reactive power at the ith node is another function of voltage and angle delta. So these are the power balance equation. In equality constraint or load constraints, we have a balance, means there is an equality sign. If you will see, we have an equality sign in between. Okay, so it is fixed. Power is equal to 250 megawatt, means it is equal to 50 megawatt. There is no range. However, the second type of the constraints is the operating constraint. Operating constants denoted by O. Another name, inequality. Or inequality constant denoted by I. Okay. So in this case, inequality constant, we do not go for the balance, means there is no equality. So here we have a range, minimum and maximum range. For example, we have operating voltage limits. Operating voltage limits. So if I will talk about the voltage constants, we have operating voltage limits. Suppose I am saying that voltage at ith node, it should be greater than Vi min and it should be less than Vi max. So if you will say there is no equality, there is a range. Vi at voltage at the ith node, it should be greater than the minimum voltage at the ith node and less than the maximum voltage at the ith node. Okay. I told you during this when I was teaching you power quality, I told you that for high voltage system, voltage should not vary more than 10%, and for extra high voltage system, voltage should not vary more than 5%. So it is plus minus 10 or plus minus 5. Okay. So according to this, what should be the voltage range for a high voltage system? So I will say that for minimum, if it is minus 10, it will be 0.9, should be greater less Vi should be greater than 0.9 or less than 1.1 for high voltage. And what should be the voltage range? What should be the voltage range for the extra high voltage? Vi. What should be Vi? Vi should be greater than 0.95 per unit and less than equal to 1.05 per unit for extra high voltage system. Are you getting my point? Okay. So I'm saying in equality constant, there is equal to sign. However, in case of inequality constants, we have a range, means between minimum and maximum. Are you getting it? Okay. Similarly, like operating voltage limit, we have line loading limit. What do you mean by line loading limit? Means we cannot load a transmission line beyond the limit of transmission line. Means we cannot operate our power system beyond the limit of transmission line. Beyond the limit of transmission line. So each transmission line has certain capacity to supply power. Okay, to supply maximum power. We cannot load the transmission line beyond that maximum value. Okay, so that is, I'm saying that is power system should be operated. That is power system should be operated. Power system should be operated well within the limits of line loading. Okay, power system should be operated well within the limits of line loading. That is line loading should always be less than maximum limit. Okay.